remember that massive ecological disaster that nobody talks about anymore?
It's been 5 years since the BP Deepwater Horizon oil rig exploded, sending 200 million gallons of oil into the Gulf of Mexico, making it the worst spill in U.S. history. A new report from the National Wildlife Foundation shows wildlife in and around the Gulf are still feeling the effects. Dolphins are dying at 4 times their normal rate, while 12% of brown pelicans and 32% of laughing gulls have died as a result of the spill. The report also says that the spill has affected endangered sea turtles, red snappers, coral colonies, and different species of fish, but these affected animals are only a small portion of the 13,000 species in the Gulf.
All right, so I wanted to do this story because it touches on 2 of my favorite topics and things we talk about here a lot. One being the environment, obviously, but second, sort of the news cycle and how we ingest news and how we get outraged by something and then we forget about it the next day. So, David, you've been to disaster areas all over the world. You're actually living this stuff, not just talking about it like me. How are we supposed to manage when something happens, like actually still paying attention to it and not just letting it be something you care about for 3 days and then forget about?
Yeah, it's a tough cycle. I just got back from Nepal 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was there for the earthquake, and during my time there, the media was really focused on the situation there. And now that I'm back, I'm seeing how we're sort of turning away and looking at different news stories, and that's natural. That has happened since the beginning of news. That something's hot for a moment, and then it goes away. And it's important that we are reminded of big stories like BP. To be honest, I had forgotten about BP. I mean, it did happen a long time ago, but to see what's still going on there is tragic.
Yeah. And isn't that interesting that 5 years ago seems like a long time to us? I mean, it's not really. And remember, for those, how many days was that thing just spewing oil out to the ocean? Everyone kept saying, well, this is going to be a 100-year ecological disaster. And yet 5 years does seem like an incredibly long time.
It does, yeah. And to see what's going on there now, there's clearly a lot that still needs to be done.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons why we founded RYOT, so that we can continue to highlight really important stories and sort of break the news system, if you like, and not just sort of keep going to the next thing and the next thing and try and resurge important stories like that. Yeah.
I mean, what can we do? I mean, you're someone that's sort of involved in things that RYOT's doing. Like, what can we do as people that talk about the news to not forget about this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, obviously there's a lot going on in the world, so, it's not that we're just, we have like some sort of like news ADD, but, like yesterday the news was all, Amtrak, obviously the tragedy that happened down there. So like, yeah, I don't know. I think that it's important for media companies like RYOT to continue to surface things like this that require our attention. I think that like when you're watching TV, the it bleeds, it leads mentality can be counterproductive to a sort of broader worldview. But I think thanks to the internet, thanks to media companies that aren't beholden to the TV broadcast news model, I think that they really have the ability to make a change and keep these things on our awareness radar.
How much of it do you think is on us as the consumers? Because it seems to me it's not like. People will say, well, when there are riots like in Baltimore, they focus only on, a cop car that's burning or something. But I don't think it's that the media is sitting around having some big conspiracy about what to show, as much as that's what people watch. Mm-hmm. So like, is it us? It's really us that's at fault as much as the media companies, right?
I think maybe you do have to cover something, go away, but then the important thing is to come back and not just leave it and continually move on and on. Media companies need to remember that the story is ongoing, and so maybe you turn away for a little while, but come back to the story and follow up on it.
So is it not just the news cycle, but it's also Twitter, pretty much? Like, we're so used to just stuff changing hour to hour. It's like, I mean, really, Nepal was barely 2 weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it seems already like we're on, and there was just another earthquake, was it yesterday or the day before? So it's like, this isn't gone already, and yet...
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the, most important questions of our time that we need to find an answer to. Like, how do we sift through all the data and all the information that's out there to find signal amongst the noise, I mean, like, distraction today, I feel like, is obesity of the mind, in a sense, We've got to look to media companies and curators like yourself, like what I try to do on Twitter, to sort of sift through the sort of debris to surface real meaningful content.
Yeah, distraction is obesity of the mind. Is that yours? Did you just make that up right then? Just right then there?
It could be in the soup somewhere, and it just came up, but
it was in the obesity of, that's pretty good. I do like that. Last thought on this. Do you think that natural disasters get the coverage that they should? So you were just in Nepal, as I keep saying. So did it get, at least for those first few days, did it get the type of coverage that that was warranted?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for the first few days, it was just blanketed everywhere, and that's what you would hope for. What's interesting to me is that we've had a few recently that have gotten huge coverage, but haven't had the kind of response that we hope for, like the Ebola crisis, for example. When that thing was happening, it was everywhere. But because Ebola came to the U.S. shores, that was our focus. We turned inward.
Right. We focused on the guy in Brooklyn who went bowling.
Exactly, and we forgot about the real crisis that was ongoing in Africa.
Yeah.
So that's another danger too.
Yeah.
You know, let's make sure that we remain focused on what the real issue is, and give that the coverage.
Another good ending. Remain focused on the real issues. What do you think? Is this the media's fault? Is it just what people clicked? Are you still paying attention to the disasters that happened 5 years ago? Let us know your thoughts in the comments right down below.